right, you're welcome back. Of course, it's talk time now on TV's Breakfast. Now, on Wednesday, the Senate demanded the resignation and prosecution of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, that's Babachir Lawal.
The move was based on allegations of corruption in the disbursement of the Northeast Humanitarian Fund, and that was after considering an interim report submitted by the Senator Shehu Sani-led ad hoc committee on mounting humanitarian crisis in the Northeast. The committee uncovered alleged shady deals by companies owned by Lawal, and the Senate also resolved to probe the more than $127 billion donated by humanitarian agencies for the rehabilitation committee set up by the federal government.
The current secretary to the federal government was
$27 billion donated by humanitarian agencies for the rehabilitation committee set up by the federal government.
The current secretary to the federal government was awarded consultancy contract for the removal of the invasive plant species in Yobe State on 8th of March 2016. Although Engineer Babachir resigned the directorship of the said company in 2016, which was confirmed, it is on September 2016, which is a record. It is on record that he is still the signatory to the accounts of the company. That 95% to 100% payments of all contracts awarded to Pine have been paid, even as some contracts are yet to be fully executed.
The 8th Senate is on test. By this misbehavior of the Secretary to the Federal Government, the integrity of Dr. Bukola Saraki is on test, is online.
That we're able to unfold that one of the companies belonged to the Secretary to the Federal Government. And not just one, because you look at these companies, their tax returns are not there. I don't think we should go any further. Rather than asking him to resign that position and recommend him for prosecution immediately.
Recommendation I. Any public officer culpable of contravening any of the provisions of the Public Procurement Act 2007 and the federal government financial rules and regulations pertaining to the award of this contract should be duly prosecuted by the relevant authorities.
All right, of course, the Senate there calling on the Secretary to the Federal Government to resign his position as a Secretary to the Government. But Babachir Lawal is calling the resolution of the Senate a charade and petty politics.
Now, the SGF said he was never invited by the ad hoc committee on mounting humanitarian crisis in the Northeast, and they said he identified shady deals linked to companies allegedly owned by him. Let's listen to what he said.
Now, concerning the charade in the Senate of today, the best I can describe it is the Hausa language that says kame kame. They are just hunting for something with which to embarrass someone. When I was appointed Secretary to the Government of the Federation, I resigned from that company on 18th August 2015. I can see in the report they are talking about 2016. I don't know where they got their facts. And by the way, it is very instructive that while the committee was sitting, no effort was ever made to invite me to come and make a submission. It's therefore surprising that they devoted the whole session of today at maligning me.
All right, we are joined by the Chairman, Nigeria Bar Association, Ikeja Branch, Additional Gulano. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers.
Good morning. And from our Abuja studios, the former Senator Timothy Adudu. Senator, it's good to have you join us right now from our Abuja studio. All right, we'll get along with that. We'll have him on as we get along. Let me come to you, Additional. First of all, give us the background. What does the law specify if anyone who is in public service, who is on a board or chairmanship of any company holding a public office, what is supposed to be the transition, whether he continues with the leadership of or the ownership of such companies or not, as the case may be?
Well, thank you so much. You've already suggested the answer.
I just want to know what the law says, because that seems to be part of the contention.
Thank you so much. If I were the if I were the courtroom, I would have raised an objection that you're asking a leading question. Leading question is suggested the answer, really. I think you are much more informed that you're asking me. Well, the truth of the matter is that by our law, you can't hold public office and be holding and do any other job. You by our law, it's a very simple thing. We are talking now of the rectitude and integrity of the position you are holding. You are a public servant, and you know the public will include even all those artificial personalities like companies and other concerns. And if so, you are holding office, and at the same time, let's say as you are here now, you are not made a commissioner somewhere in your state or something, and you are a director here. Certainly, there is no way there will be conflicts of interest. And since you are supposed to deal fairly, impartially, balanced with all manners of people constituting the public, you are supposed to be insular. You are just in that office, and that's the only thing that you do. That's just the position of the law.
All right. Now Babachir Lawal, in his comments a few moments ago, said, look, I resigned, my appointment as the chairman or director of that company, and now they are talking about 2016 that I was no longer a part of that company. So, I mean, how do you look at that? Does the Senate have a case against him?
Well, maybe I should even go more fundamental because that is his claim is based on something much more pivotal. He said, nobody asked me a question. That's a very serious thing. And he's made a claim, and there has been no opportunity for that claim to have been verified, assuming that he has been invited. If the judge, I think it took some time before our president got his act together in appointing people to sensitive position and all that. So I guess the government came to power, and I know they came to power in May 29 last year. The gentleman said, I resigned my job in August 2015. But the Senate report said that the man resigned in August 2016. Assuming that the Senate were right, that is, assuming that their position factually was the correct one, that is 2016, the Secretary to State to the federal government was very, very wrong. Because 2016 August or 2016 September is just a few months ago, and you have been there for more than a year and all that kind of a secretary. That would be wrong. But the man said it was 2015. Now, is their word against his? And I saw him describing the Senate proceeding that day as a facade, and it's unfortunate because we are talking of the Senate of Nigeria. You are talking of the representative, the upper echelon of the Nigerian people, and they are just being dismissed like that justifiably, and that makes it sad. You want to wonder that in that Senate there are many lawyers. In that committee, I'm very sure there will be lawyers. If the gentleman could say, did you invite me? He's talking about fair hearing. Now that is very, very critical from the legal and judicial point of view. No matter the merit of what you do, if you do not care to ask of the other side, it was the golden era of the Supreme Court of Nigeria that I think it's either Justice Okuta or Kayode Esho, when he was talking about fair hearing in one particular case, was saying that even the Almighty God cared to ask Adam, where are thou? It's not that he didn't know. God is omnipresent and omniscient. He didn't just judge him. The only fellow that was not giving fair hearing, I think, was the serpent. Nobody cared to ask him for sentencing. But Adam, where are thou? Was it that God was blind? Of course, God knew what happened. The opportunity to say the nonsense or the sense you want to say so that it can be balanced. From what we've been reading, if the facts are as reported.
There was a report of the Senate sending an invitation letter to his office, and I think that the permanent secretary responded on behalf of the secretary to the government of the Federation. Although I've not been able to lay my hands on that, but there was that report. But let's get to the issue of integrity in here. Yes. We've heard some of the senators talk about the issue of Babachir resigning. Now, we had a lawyer here sometime too who said that, well, the Senate is not in the right moral standing and the position to say that someone else should resign if there are allegations against it, because they also have the same thing at one time or the other. Oh, yeah. What's your position?
Well, I'm a lawyer. And when people bring the issue of morality, it becomes speculative and then less objective. And I will not support that lawyer. If you are talking politics, yes. But if you are talking from the point of law,
of the law,
you say you are a thief. Your only defense is that you too are a thief. But that's not a defense in law. Is it true? If the Senate has the baggage of not resigning when people ought to have resigned one way or the other, that's a moral baggage. It will not in law stop them from doing their oversight duties and inquiring and insisting that right things be done, talking legally. Like I said, I'm a lawyer and I can only speak on this kind of an issue morally. It will be diversionary and begging the issue or begging the point when we begin to now say, but you too, that other time, you too should have resigned. The question is that, assuming the man did not resign at the proper time that he ought to have resigned, and he was dealing with Nigerian situation with an interest of his own person involved, that would be right. The mere fact that Senate for one time or that did not do the right thing would not have made it right for him to continue to do the same thing. And I think the Senate was right in asking that right things be done.
Okay. Now but
before you go on with the question, let's go on a break and then we come back to dwell more on this. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
All right, of course, it's still talk time on TVC Breakfast, and of course, we're talking about the position of the Senate that the Secretary to the Federal Government, that's Babachir Lawal, resigned because of alleged shady deals by companies owned by him. Of course, we still have in the studio here Barrister Adeshina Ogulana, Chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Ikeja branch. Now, just before we went to break, I was going to ask, what do you think should be the next move by the Senate at the moment? You know, since the man has said, look, you guys haven't given me a fair hearing, you haven't given me a chance to state my own position. Do you think they should go ahead, re-invite him? Let's hear from you.
I don't think so. You know, there is a proverb not by people, mind the hunters. He says you don't get the second chance to shoot at a buffalo because a mighty, terrible animal. You get that chance once, you miss it, you flop it. You could see the vehemence, the emotion, the pugnacity by which they are making the recommendation.
So have they fluffed the alliance?
They've fluffed because, as it were now, after you've judged me, after you've condemned me, after you have asked for my resignation, not only that, prosecution with so much venom, and if I may just say vigor, you now say, well, okay, since you say we never gave you a fair hearing, we want to come and hear your side of the story. If you are the gentleman, will you have the grace to believe in that fair-mindedness again? It certainly is going to be. I need to abuse them back, and which I said is quite unfortunate. Two wrongs necessarily do not make a right. You see the Senate of the country
of the alliance.
They've lost because, as it were now, after you've judged me, after you've condemned me, after you have asked for my resignation, not only that, prosecution with so much venom, and if I may just say vigor, you now say, well, okay, since you say we never gave you a fair hearing, we want to come and hear your side of the story. If you are the gentleman, will you have the grace to believe in that fair-mindedness again? It certainly is going to be. I need to abuse them back, and which I said is quite unfortunate. Two wrongs necessarily do not make a right. You see the Senate of the country. We know they are rating the public, but he is the secretary. federal government, I would have expected some moderation. He only needs to say that, how could you shave my head behind my back?
Okay. All right. Let's bring in Senator Timothy Dudu in here. He is joining us from Abuja on phone. Senator, let me come to you on this. Okay, I understand we have the lines are down again. Now let's come to the issue of the languages being used. The Senate, like you said earlier on, is a hallowed institution and respected. Now, the vigor, the passion by which the language, in fact, we played a report yesterday and the Senate President used the word rubbish when he was referring to what the Secretary to Government of Federation was saying. You also mentioned that the Secretary to Government used some words. Now, when it comes to in the eye of the public, what is wrong about the way those words are used? Words that are not very, or people may say they're not very gentlemanly or not very.
Yes,
polite.
exactly the point. You say when you are a leader, you are supposed to be an adirefofon, a white cock, a white hen. In the parlance of my people, the white hen is the prince and of the whole poultry, you know. I'm not talking about modern day now when you have all this chicken and all this. So you are supposed to conduct yourself above the mean, above the average. And when you are a leader, you become an elder. People say that the capacity of an elder is measured by the dignity of the elder is measured by his capacity to absorb insult, to absorb denigration. The younger ones may throw tantrums and use imprecations and blast you and all that, but a leader knows that to manage a community, to manage a situation, the very last person to lose his head, if you were ever going to lose the head, must be the leader. So you manage situations, and you see sometimes when you want to bring people to perspective, to understand where you are going, you can't achieve that in a volatile situation when you are doing fire for fire. Okay, consider this. They're not behaving with due respect to all of them, like motor park people, and all those one, and all those kind of swear words and all that. You are raising the temper, okay, and become suspect. For example, I've just watched about 2 or 3 of the senators. I think it was the man presenting the report that was a bit moderate, but the people responding, they were almost yelling. And in a way, the chambers of the Senate is like the courtroom. Some lawyers too, with due respect, do miss it. You are addressing because you are shouting, you are yelling, you are almost banging the table. You are not in a market square. You are not. So the Senate are supposed to be refined. That the very best of our people are supposed to be representing us. And if
all right. I think that we have to put up with that now.
Oh, okay, the man is there. All right, that's Senator
Timothy
Dudu. All right, Timothy, thank you very much indeed. We've been trying so hard to get across to you, but let me ask you this. How do you think that this whole scenario, this is the Secretary to the federal government, and here is the hallowed chamber. How do you think that what is happening at the moment is likely to impact on the relationship, the fragile relationship between the executive and the legislature?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. In every dispensation, there are always flashpoints. You remember the third-term era, we've always had flashpoints. But it depends on how it is managed. These are 2 different organizations of government, the executive and the legislature, and each has its own constitutional role to play. And in the course of performing their functions, there's always a tendency to overlap. If we overcome the third-term fracas, if we overcome all the the scandals we had in the Senate and in the executive, I don't see any problem about this one. I'm sure with time there will be the understanding that ultimately the interest of the citizen is what matters. So I believe very strongly that the matter will be resolved in the interest of the nation.
All right, Senator, let me stay with you on this. If there are allegations against a high office of the government, or maybe even in the executive, like the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, is it in the place of the Senate to look into calling for him to resign and setting committee to investigate allegations against him?
Yeah, if I heard you well, that was the recommendation of the committee. First of all, let me say that I hold the Institute of the National Assembly as an institute. I hold it in very high esteem. That's my first constituency, if you will. And whatever they do, I consider it very, very serious. But mind you, it was only a recommendation that they did to they made to the president.
Okay. Now, in this recommendation, when senators were making presentations on the floor of the Senate, we were talking about this earlier on. A lot of them were really very passionate or very vigorous, let me say, and so many words were used. If it is just recommendation they're making and they're using all those kind of very strong words and so on, one would say there is more to this. What is your reaction on that?
Are you there?
Hello, Senator, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, I can hear you now.
All right, I was saying that you just said it's just a recommendation that the senators are making. And if it is a recommendation, we heard the senators, when they were making their presentation, using very strong words and condemning the activity. And that looks to all Nigerians as though they have already passed their judgment.
Yeah, no matter the heightened emotions or the shouting and what have you, everybody must act within the contemplation of the existing law, of what the law provides for. So, yes, they are passionate about it, but the Senate cannot remove the Secretary to the government. They can only recommend as they did. I totally understand why there was that much passion and heightened heat in the recommendation. But like I said, that is what the law says. You can only recommend, and then you allow the president to take the necessary steps. In the past, we've had situations where we've asked public officers if we found them, if there's an investigation, there might be a recommendation that they should resign from their office. So it's not the first time.
Okay, Senator Adudu, this is one of the highest offices, public offices in the country, Secretary to the federal government. Let me ask you this. Do you think we will ever arrive at that point where if a public officer's integrity is called into question, it says, look, my integrity has been called into question, I give up this office? Will we ever get there?
First of all, you see, let us not orchestrate the issue of resigning to a legal status. It's a moral question, and being a moral question, people will respond to it differently. My wish is to say that, well, let us get to the point that if somebody is accused and he knows he has committed the offense, he should resign. But that's not the case that we have here. The Secretary to the government is saying that he is not guilty of these accusations. So why will he resign in the circumstances? It is a different thing if the Secretary to the government has said, look, I'm guilty of this. Then you can now have the moral authority from the other end to say, having considered that you are guilty of these offenses, you should resign. But the man has said, and he has continued to say, I'm not guilty of this. So let him stay and prove his innocence.
All right, Senator, I'm still staying with you. Babachir Lawal has said that he has not been invited at any point to the Senate for a hearing on this. He has not been given a fair hearing, but the Senate is already making recommendations. How do you reconcile that?
Well, if the Senate invite a public officer, there are procedures. So did they invite him and he refused to come? If the answer is yes, what did the Senate do or what did the committee do in that circumstance? So the Secretary of Government has a point there that he was not given a fair hearing, which is true because he didn't appear before the committee. And the point that I'm making is that maybe, just maybe, because I was not there to know what the facts were, but maybe, just maybe, they invited him and he was not able to come. And if he was not able to come, what did the committee do? So he can stand on fair hearing for the fact that he didn't appear there.
All right, Senator Timothy Adudu, thank you very much for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Just in a few seconds, what do you think should be the way forward now after this?
Well, if I'm right, if I heard right, I understand that the president of the country, Muhammadu Buhari, has ordered an investigation into this matter. And so that is fair enough. Although some other people will query him that, well, is it not within the House, within the same executive, the secretary is the engine room of your government and you are investigating him? Do we have faith in that? But I think that's the best that should be done in the circumstances and not left it hanging, because there's no way the Senate can recall the man now, and there's no way you can recall back to him. So, like I said, they fluffed the chance, but tempers should cool down. They've given the impression, the Senate has given the impression that they are witch hunting.
Going for the overkill.
Yeah, going for an overkill in respect of this matter for some other reasons.
Okay. All right. Barrister Additional Golano, Chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Ikeja branch. Thank you very much indeed for coming to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you. We also thank Senator Timothy Adudu for joining us from Abuja. This is where we come to the end of today's edition of the program. Tomorrow we'll be here again to discuss other issues that concern everyone. On behalf of everyone, I am Mike Okwoche.
And I'm Ikechukwuobienu. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.